Hello, this is Paula Jasmine, and this is going to be a video blog. And I want to talk about debt and student loans, mostly private loans. If you are a student that is considering either going to college or you are in college in a program, either an undergraduate program or a master's or a graduate program, and you are thinking about taking a private loan, I want you to reconsider that. Please do not avoid taking a private loan. Private loans a bad. Are a bad decision to take because they do not offer as many options for repayment as federal loans. In addition, because they are private loan, um, the companies are not bounded by the same by the same requirements. And if you miss a payment, collections can get to a very point that almost you feel like you are being harassed because they will call you all the time, which is kind of weird because honestly, if you don't have money to pay, you cannot pay. Two things to keep in mind. I'm going to be telling my story very soon, um, but I want you to realize this: when you graduate, you are going to have a certain number of months to find a job. If you cannot find a job, if you have federal loans, if you can't find a job or you're in a financial crisis or your job doesn't pay you enough, there are options that will help you be able to keep those responsibilities. One of the options that I will suggest is like if you have a job that doesn't pay enough and you have federal loans, put your loans into what is called income-based repayment. Pretty much what does though, how the program works is like you submit your information, you fill out the application, you submit your information, proof of your income, and then they will review your application and they will give you a payment that will be affordable based on your income. And right now, I have federal loans, and most of my federal loans are under the income-based repayment plan. Um, at the same time, there's a drawback that if because it's income-based repayment, if your income goes up, you're going to end up having to pay more, and if your income goes down, you will pay less. But if you are struggling financially because you don't have a job that pays you enough, and I can understand that because I pretty much faced that situation, and I'm still recovering from that. It will help you pretty much. The income-based repayment plan will help you. So if you are struggling and you don't know what to do, as soon as possible, call your lender and let them know that you are struggling financially and see if they can help you get into an income-based repayment plan. That's for federal loans. Private student loans, on the other hand, all they may be able to offer you is a forbearance. The forbearance is tricky because what we'll do is we'll capitalize the interest. It will add the interest to the principal, and then you will end up over time paying more for your private student loan. Pretty much that's what happened to me. And only in 2006, I was working full time, but because I had also credit card debt and my student loan payments were too high, and personally, I think at that point I should have put my student loan federal loans on income-based repayment. Um, but my federal loans were I had credit card payment. I have other payments, so it's very difficult for me to be able uh, to make. Um, Sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. Okay, yeah, in 2006. Yeah. Okay, so it was very difficult for me to be able to afford making the payments for the private loan. I apologize for that. I got distracted about something. Um, and so I put them in forbearance, and the forbearance what pretty much did was like I didn't have to pay for a while. I had to pay a fee for that, but it didn't have to pay it, the private loans, the amount that they wanted me to pay. And at that time, I think it was about 300 or 400, which was quite high, especially when you add the credit card debt to, and on top of that, you have the federal loans. Like it's a good chunk of my paycheck. Pretty much, I think my payments were about $600 or $700 a month that I was paying in addition to my living expenses. Um, so I put them in forbearance. And this year I came to find out, actually last year in 2014, I came to find out that I no longer had any forbearance options. Um, and that made my life a little bit more miserable. You will get to know when I tell you my story of how I got into that. But first, that's the only option that you will get when you have a private student loan. You will only get a forbearance, and forbearance it's the worst that you can probably get because the amount that you're going to end up paying in the end is going to be higher. Your principal will go higher, and your interest will be higher. Um, why I'm making this video blog is because, well, I have the private loan. I want you as a student or you as a person that is in college to rethink your options before taking a private loan. I'm not saying that this will happen to you. You may be able to get a good job and be able to afford all this. My case has been a little bit different, and my I apologize about the kitty. Yeah, I get you, kitty. Great timing. Anyway, so my situation is different. Um, and and finding a job, getting the job that I needed to pay and to be able to cover my living expenses has been the hassle that I've been struggling lately, and even now, especially because of the 2008 financial crisis, which pretty much left almost everybody out of a job, and the job options are very limited too. Okay, kitty, come on, stop it. The cat. Yeah, the kitty. Anyway, going back to what I was saying. All right, so yeah, do not take a private student loan. No matter how insistent, no matter how they want try to paint it, they will try to paint like, oh, this is a great option. It will help you finish your goals and all that stuff. Do not take a private student loan. Avoid taking a private student loan. Doesn't matter which program you are, whether you are undergrad, whether you're in grad school or law school or anywhere. Avoid taking a private student loan. It's they are the worst. They don't have many options of repayment. And if you are not able to find a job, you're still going to get stuck with that debt. And repaying it can be a pain in the neck. And negotiating with a lender is very, very, very difficult. And I will say this: it can be very stressful because, um, if you don't have the money to pay for, what are you going to do? In my case, what I did, and I'm going to tell my story so you have a better idea of what happened to me. In my case, when because I ended up kind of pretty much losing my higher paying job, and then I went to a lower income paying job. Um, I tried to negotiate with the companies to see if they could put my loans on hold or give me a forbearance while I still search for another higher paying job. But the company, which is called Navient, yes, I'm going to say a name because I'm not afraid. Navient. Navient, also known as Sally Mae. Because Sally Mae, originally it was Sally Mae. I got the loan through Sally Mae. I didn't get the loan through Navient. I got it through Sally Mae. Sally Mae then later on changed its name to Navient. They are one and the same. Navient is just the same wolf in cheap disguise. So, Navient and Sally Mae, remember that name. Say no to Navient. Do not take a private loan from them. Do not take a private loan from Sally Mae. Avoid the problems, the troubles that I've been facing because they are the worst. I want you to learn from this. I learned from this. I even regret taking this private loan, and I wish I had been more wiser about it when I had the chance to not take this private student loans because I could have avoided all the troubles that I am in right now. Okay? So keep that in mind as you are watching the video. Avoid taking a private student loan. Do not take a private student loan. No matter how much you need the money, try not to take a private student loan. Reassess your situation. Think about whether you really need that degree. Think about whether you can do something different with your life, but do not take a private student loan. Okay? All right. Anyway, so um, so in my situation, because my job situation was difficult, I choose not to pay the company. I tried to work out a deal, but they didn't give me many options. So I ended up pretty much not deciding not to pay them because in my case, I live far away from my family. I have to rent an apartment. I have to pay that living expense. I cannot just move back with my parents because my parents live in Puerto Rico and I live in Albany, New York. I pretty much have to live renting a place. Doesn't matter what place it is, whether it's a shared expense or not. Pretty much what I have sacrificed is that I don't have an apartment for myself. I rent a two-bedroom apartment. I have another person live with me in this apartment. He has his own room, but we share the rent. We split the rent. because I currently cannot afford an apartment on my own. An apartment on my own in at least in this area here in Albany can cost from $500, which will be in the lower end of the cost, to about thousands of dollars. So it's pretty expensive, the cost of renting an apartment in New York State. All right. Um, Add to that the fact that one need to have a car. I no longer have a car. And all the other expenses, food expenses, and all that stuff. So it can add up pretty quickly. Your living expenses. So anyway, keeping that in mind, let me tell you my story. So my story began in Puerto Rico in 2004. I had just finished my master's degree in environmental engineering, and I had been accepted to a PhD program at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or PI, in Troy, New York. I moved to Troy, New York, and at one point I decided to take a federal loan. I took federal loans. I got a computer and other stuff, and I was also getting financial aid from the school. I got a scholarship, so the scholarship took care of pretty much covering my tuition for that first year, and I didn't have to worry about putting any payment out of my own or taking student loans. I took the federal loans because I want to get a laptop to be able to do my homeworks, because I was getting tired of having not having a computer in my apartment and having to be in school until 10 p.m. and then getting stuck in the winter and having to walk back to my apartment because I didn't want to spend money on a taxi and being cold. So I also ended up getting a car in 2014. um, I got approved for a loan. It was a used car. I got a pickup truck, Ford Ranger from 1990, and it lasted me up until 2009. So I bought the car, um, and then in 2005, um, I began having problems with my advisor. So pretty much, I decided not to continue working with her, and I decided to switch programs to a master's degree because I can't find any other advisor who will take me to be able to finish the PhD. So I decided to go back to chemical engineering and try to finish a master's in chemical engineering, with the hope that I could get another degree and see if I could get another job, or maybe continue into the PhD program while and prove that, yeah, hey, I'm here, I can do the job and I can do research and all that stuff. Sadly, things didn't work out at that point in time, because I was paying in a master's degree. They didn't offer too much financial help to a master's degree student. They want you to pay for it at their PI. I had to take a. I decided to apply for a private student loan to see if I could to fund my education, because I only had like about one more year to go. Um, Even that I wasn't doing quite well with some of the classes and all that stuff. So um, I decided to take a private student loan. So I applied for the private student loan, and it was with Sally Mae. I apply. I decided to wait. At that time, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in school, I was also searching for a job. And I was searching for part-time jobs, but I couldn't find anything. I'm too overqualified. At that point in time, I'm too overqualified. I already had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and they don't want to hire me. And And at the same time, I applied to a full-time position that I sent in a local newspaper, and it was for a manufacturing company. I went to a job interview. This was in the summer of close to the summer of 2005. Yes, it was around May 2005. So I went to a job interview, and I ended up getting an offer. At the same time that I got the offer, I also got the check from Sally Mae, and I was scheduled to take a state test for an environmental engineering position later on that month, and I wanted to go out to see if I could take it and see if I could find a job that was going to be closer. The other company was a little bit too far away, and my truck was in no condition to be able to go every day of the week to drive to that place for work. So I made the decision to reject the job offer, which wasn't very wise. So I rejected the job offer. and decided to take the private loan that Sallie Mae gave me to stay in school one to see if I could finish the master's degree. And while I was in school, began getting I took the test for the state position, and I began getting Canvas letters. And so in 2006, in late 2005, I did my math calculations, and at that point, I was realizing that I wasn't going to have enough money to be able to finish the degree, and also by the time I will finish, I will have absolutely zero money left in the bank. So I pretty much decided uh, to take the job offer and stop going to school. And I got lucky that I got a letter from the state. I went to a job interview and I got an offer to start working with the state as an environmental engineer. Um, as you all know, the state doesn't pay too much money. Government generally doesn't pay too much money, and I I even though it didn't pay too much money, I decided to take it. So I took the job. I started working with the state in 2006, and 6 months after my private student loans, I had to pretty much I had to I had to begin paying them, and and um, and I still was a state working as an environmental engineer from 2006 up to 2009. As you all know, that year 2009 was when the economy went downhill and everything went bad, and people started getting people uh, layoffs started in private companies and in the government here in New York State. That around that time, Governor Patterson began discussing the possibility of doing layoff. Um, so in 2009, I ended up there were two options for me with the state. Number one was going to be the fact that I could get bumped down in my position, and I would have to move to a different location. But at that time in 2009, something also happens. I ended up losing my car because my credit cards, they realized that I didn't earn enough money. I maxed them out as much as I could. 2009 also was around the time that I started transitioning from male to female, and and so my credit cards were maxed out. I barely had enough money because I was paying rent, and my company froze my credit. So my truck got damaged. I didn't have having an used vehicle is very difficult because if it get damaged, usually you have to spend a lot of money to repair it. So I didn't have the money to repair it because I was bound by the credit cards and all the stuff, and I didn't have the credit cards that I could use anymore to fix my car. So I lost my car. I ditched my car in 2009. I have not had a car since 2009. That also have created other issues for me because um, in this area here in Albany, New York, you need to have a car to be able to get a good job. If you don't have a car around here, getting a good job is very, very difficult because the bus and the public transportation here in Albany will only get you that far. Um, so, so yeah, I lost my car. It also put a strain on me because now finding a job was going to be a little bit more tougher. I couldn't go to places. I couldn't apply to places for jobs because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get there. So pretty much I got stuck in Albany. And when I backed down from the state, I went unemployed. I know could no longer afford paying the credit card, so I being unemployed at that time. I also decided to enroll in associate's degree. I got interested in theater, so I decided to go to a local college to study theater arts. So I was going part time to school, and while still searching a job and dealing with the legal issues of transition from one gender to another, and and that being in school put my loans on hold again. Pretty much deferment. I didn't have to pay the loans again. I ended up taking some more federal loans later on in 2010 to continue in school. But I don't regret that because, as you are going to see later, they actually helped me pretty much. So for the moment, let's continue with the story. So I was going to school part time, while searching for a full-time job. It was very tough for two things. For me, being in the middle, pretty much, I had my gender presentations were one thing. My IDs were under different names, so a lot of people get scared and they are fearful of hiring a transgender person. So that was one of the issues that I had to deal with. The other issue is that, to be honest, really the economy sucked at that point in time, and finding a good job, it was difficult. And then to the fact that not having a car, I was limited in my options. So pretty much it was difficult for me. It was the hardest time in my life. I think if I was not in school, I think I would have gotten very stressed out about the situation. Honestly, I would have gotten very frustrated because at least with school, it gave me something to do. It kept my mind busy, and I was able to get another degree. So I ended up finishing in 2011 a degree in an associate in theater arts. And then at that time, because I also do stage combat, fight choreography, I teach actors how to fight. People around here began paying me. So I decided, you know what, people are paying me for this. So why not studying business administration and accounting? Because I feel that that will help me understand much better how to organize my own business and keep better track of my finances in my business if people give me money. So I got back into the same school, and as soon as I finished, I started the next program, and I ended up getting a degree in 2013, December 2013, in business administration and accounting. However, in 2012, I almost ended up homeless because my finances were the income that I was getting disappeared pretty much. I exhausted my options of income, and and I didn't have a way to pay for an apartment, so I had to move out. A friend of mine helped me. He let me with the living situation, but I was close to being on the street, homeless. I was getting very frustrated because also I was applying for any job. You know, I needed a job. I needed an income. I didn't want to be dependent on what I have, and I was getting frustrated, and I felt like my skills were getting rusty. So I applied to what I could every possible job, and somehow ended up applying to Home Depot. And finally, I got the job interview at Home Depot, and Home Depot ended up hiring me. And my last year of college in business administration and accounting, I was going to school part time and working part time. And that actually was very good because it showed me that, yeah, you can go to school part time and you can work part time. It's possible to do it. Home Depot has been great in that sense. They are very flexible with their hours, and it was easier for me to be able to change my schedule to be able to have time to go to school and work at the same time. However, I finished the degree in 2013, and in January 2014, I had to start paying my private student loans. And sadly, because I was still working at Home Depot, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to afford it. With what I was earning at Home Depot, it would have been impossible. Just to give you a perspective, back in I was getting my payments were going to be $200 a month, and at Home Depot I was making less than $200 a week, and I have to pay for my living expenses, which is rent, food, medicines, because the hormones cost money, and so I could barely afford the private loan. Federal loans they were about to start, but I still have some time before they kick in, and I had to start paying them back. So I called the company Navient, and I told them, "Hey, I don't have enough money to pay. Can you guys help me here? Can you give me a forbearance or put me on on something because I'm on financial hardship or something?" "No, we don't have this option for the private loan. You have to pay." "I don't have the money." "Then I don't know what to tell you. You have to pay." I missed the first payment. Phone calls start getting in. Every day they will call me, and every day I will tell them I don't have the money. Um, They will call me the next day. Once again, I don't have the money. I don't know why they call so much time. To be honest, they should put a limit on how many times a week they can call you to request you to pay some money. This is for the politicians. For the politicians, please keep this in mind. Private student loan don't have some protections, and calling a person every single day to request a payment. Let's be honest. You only get paid if you get weekly. If you get paid weekly, you only get paid once a week, or you can get paid bi-weekly, or you can get paid once a month. You don't get paid every day. So what makes a company think that you are going to get to have money from one day to the next? Something to think about. Anyway, so I missed one payment. I had to miss the second payment because I didn't at that point in time I was still working for Home Depot and didn't have any money to pay the company. At that point I was already searching for a full-time job, and this was 2014, and I went and took the test for an examination to get back with the state again for a tax technician position with the New York State Department of Tax and Finance. I took the test, I passed it, so I began pretty much in the waiting game again. And I also was going to job interviews for other places, and I got an interview, and I got lucky. I got a job at Blatch Precision Ceramics from March, and I began. The money was okay. I was getting paid. I will say that I'm not afraid. Um, Around $12 an hour for the job that I was doing. Um, Still on the low end, $12 an hour. When you have an engineering degree, that is absolutely nothing. But it was working manufacturing. It wasn't an engineering job. I took it because I needed the money, and I was able to catch up with the payments with Navient. So I ended up paying the $200, $200. That was because the Navient decided, let's put you to pay interest first, and then we'll let you pay the principal down. So they had me on paying $200, $200, which was mostly paying interest on the loan. Eventually, um, I ended up moving from that company that I was working to DSM Fortitech in Schenectady. I was working on a third shift. My payment went down. What happened in the other company? I didn't meet the production requirements. I was getting pain in my hands, so I carpal tunnel syndrome. So I had to quit. I mean, they had to fire me. I wasn't meeting the numbers, but they did me a favor because I was in so much pain. I think I would have probably ended up quitting. Um, so they fired me. They let me go. And when they let me go, I got lucky. I applied to a position in a company called Fortitech DSM in Schenectady. Human resource person knew me, got an interview with the boss of the company, and as soon as possible, I already had a job. I got the job offer, and I got the job. So I started working with them on the third shift, and I stayed there from June until January 2015. The company again was production. My income went down. The thing that helped me was the fact that they give a differential for night shift, so I got paid $11.50 per hour. Again, low end for a chemical engineer. This is absolutely nothing. Back in 2003, I remember working part time as an engineer for Unilever in Puerto Rico, and I was getting paid working part time $17.25. So this is just ridiculous. I don't even know what I went to school for. Um, um, so yeah, my income was very low, and but I was still able to afford the $200 a month of Navient. So I continued paying Navient. I continued paying my living expenses. I knew that eventually the income that I was getting with them wasn't going to be enough. But at the same time, with the company that I was working, I didn't like the some people that were working the shift. I didn't like some. I ended up from working in production. Pretty much, they started putting me as a janitor for the company, and I went to school. I don't want to stay as a janitor in a company, so I ended up. I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit on the spot. I went for a 1 month with a final job, so pretty much the payment for the private loan I didn't pay it. I didn't have the money to do so. And in that month, I searched for another job. I got back with some depot. They rehired me again. Same store. They knew me. They hired me back again. And I got lucky. I got another job at Lens Raptor. So now I had two part-time jobs. Even with two part-time jobs, it's been a big mess. It's been very difficult to manage the expenses. And my um, I still couldn't afford paying. I was kind of like trying to pay all the expenses that I have, my living expenses. I At that point I also moved to this apartment here, and so my rent went up. So I was kind of like trying to manage the apartment rent, the food, and all that stuff, and I could no longer afford paying the private student loan. So at that point, going back to the important stuff and a lesson that you learn, don't sacrifice your living expenses to pay a private loan. Most important stuff is to have a roof over your head. I couldn't afford going back to my parents because I don't live around here, you know. I had to stay here, and pretty much my decision was: do I want to keep a roof over my head, or do I want to end up living in the streets? If I don't have the money, if I don't pay the rent, I'm going to end up in the streets. Living in the streets is not an option. So I pretty much decided not to pay Navient. I pretty much told them, up yours, because I didn't have the money. And to be honest, you should never sacrifice your living expenses. Your living expenses come first. Your federal loans, they're going to work out with you, and you should get into income-based repayment if you are having a financial hardship as soon as possible. But private student loans, they don't give a shit. They continue calling me. I tried to negotiate with them. They were not willing to negotiate. Another payment comes in. They call me again. They are still working out. They try to give me reduce my interest, all that stuff. But I still wasn't going to be able to afford making the payments that they lower me at that point in time. So pretty much I ended up when 3 months. I defaulted on my private student loan. I really defaulted. The only reason that the company didn't this that Navient did not sue me was because they were waiting. Because I have told them that I have been looking for another job and I have had a few interviews that I was doing my part to get a better job. They are smart on this because if they would have sued me at that point in time for not paying them, they could have risked losing. If you have a private student loan, this is a catch. They cannot garnish your wages immediately. They have to take you to court. They have to sue you, and they have to win to be able to get to garnish your wages. If if you don't have enough to pay them, I don't think the judge will allow them to take any wages at all. Or if they will take some wages, it wouldn't be that much out of your paycheck. So they will be in the losing end. And at that time, my payments went up to $350. $350 with an income from Home Depot, working part time, and working part time for LensCrafter. That's very difficult to pay. Very, very difficult. So I got lucky. The test that I have taken for the state, I got a Canvas letter for tax technician position. First time I went the previous year, I didn't get hired. I thought I wasn't going to get hired, but surprisingly, I got hired. I got the job with the state. My income has gone up. Because my income has gone up, now the company Navient want to dip in, and they were calling me. It's like, you have to make a payment. You have to make a payment. You have to make a payment. And now because I didn't pay them, my payments went up again. So now they're in they were in the $422. I told them, no, I'm not going to pay you $422. That's too much. And it is too much. $422, almost like more than 20% when you analyze the income to debt ratio or the debt to income ratio. More than 20%. That's a signal. That's something that tells you that you have too much debt. And so I told the company, no, I'm not going to pay you $422. So they started threatening me that they were going to sue me, and I'm like, go ahead. You've been telling me that since I missed my first payment. So finally, they called me yesterday, or 2 days ago. They called me and they told me, "We're this is the final time we're going to send you the court papers. We're giving you a deal. You better take it, or we're going to send you to court." So I ended up getting the um deal, and I felt it was because of too much pressure from the person in there. I didn't have time to rethink it well and see the options. At the same time, it could have backfired me if we have gotten to court because I mean, when you go to court, not only the company will could lose, I could lose too. So I don't know. I feel like I should have taken the court option. And to this point, I feel like I want to cancel that deal and tell them, hey, send me the court papers. I don't want to pay this anymore. Because honestly, all the the economic shock that I have been dealing with since 2009 has affected my finances, my has affected me financially tremendously. You lose a job that it gets very tough. It gets really tough. And I'm not saying it because I'm transgender and all that stuff. No, I'm just saying you lose a job, you don't have income, you don't have economic resources. Life is tough. And I don't care what politician says. I don't care in what world they live. Seriously, like you don't have an income, you cannot pay afford anything pretty much. You can afford paying debt. They call you, but you don't have the money to do so. So it puts you in a very bad position. So um anyway, I ended up taking the deal. But the deal pretty much what it did was like it took my payments that I have missed and added up to my principal. My principal just went up, which is bad. Not only went up, the deal is only for 15 months. And at the end of 15 months, those payments can also go up. Next year, my income-based repayment loans, they're probably going to up because I'm earning more money now. Um, My loans are manageable. I even was doing some research and I read that if you owe about $1,000 in student loans, you need a job that pays you 85,000 a year. If you don't have enough experience or you're new, you just graduated, finding a job that pays you 85,000 a year is very difficult. There are not many positions and there are not many jobs that will pay that amount of money. So I've been in a very tough situation. I've been in a very tough situation. Top it off with the fact that I used to have a professional engineer's license. I didn't have the money to renew it. I lost my professional engineer's license in Puerto Rico. I don't have a license in New York State because New York State decided to not give me the license in here because they wanted me to get more years of experience. And so my financial situation has gotten really bad, really, really bad. It's a little bit depressing, and but I've been able to keep up. And at least with getting back with the States, so I'm able to get a little bit more money. But yeah, no, seriously, like my take, my situation has been very difficult, and it's been very frustrating to deal with the loan companies, specifically dealing with Navient. They've been calling me every day. They don't seem to be they don't seem to have empathy towards my situation. All they care is about collecting the money. They also, some of the people that have called me, one even suggested, and they may try to deny this, but I still remember that conversation because for me it's ridiculous what that person dared to ask me. One of them asked me if I had a credit card. I told them, sir, I do not have a credit card. I don't have credit cards. I cannot afford getting a credit card because I'm also bankrupt. Oh yeah, I had to go bankrupt in 2011 to be able to deal with the credit card debt that I had. So I'm already recovering from a bankruptcy. I'm already recovering from struggling financially and not being able to find a job for about 3 years. And on top of that, I have this insanely student loan expense that the payments are not willing to negotiate them. I had to push them to the limit so they would negotiate with me. And even then, the person over the phone told me, "Oh, I don't have to give you this because I don't have to do this. I'm just doing you a favor." Well, if you don't do that, I will end up in court. So you will do it because you just want to collect the money. And it's, oh, don't tell me what I need to. Don't tell me that kind of stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, really? Yeah. Um, no, but like their attitude towards me, their attitude towards being empathetic has been very difficult. That's why I say Do not take a private student loan because these people, they don't give a shit about your living situation. They just want their money. And it's unfair in my opinion because when you graduate with a degree, you expect that you're going to get a job, but sometimes life doesn't work that way, and you have to end up taking jobs that pay very little money just to be able to survive. The capitalism works because people have money. You go and purchase whatever you want. It's a system that money has to be in motion. Otherwise the system gets stuck, and that's why recession happens because people are not spending money on stuff. But then again, if people doesn't have money to spend on stuff, they cannot spend money. If you just graduate and your job doesn't pay you enough, you may have to make some sacrifices. You might have to stay with your parents and then pay the student loan company to be able to pay your student loans. Um, Dealing with the federal loan companies is a little bit more easier than dealing with the private loan companies. With the private loan companies, you don't have many options, and if and because of that, it becomes more difficult um, to pay that loan, and you may have to make other sacrifices. In my case, and if there's anybody out there that is living away from their parents, you will understand the situation. You cannot move back to your parents because you may not have the money to do that. I don't have the money to do that. Also, I don't want to go to Puerto Rico. I'm transgender, and the people transgender people down there don't have many rights, and it's very difficult to get a more difficult to get a job down there than up here. So uh, so I'm lucky up here, and that's why I have to stay up here. And at least here in Albany, I got more opportunities too, because the employment situation in Puerto Rico is also very very bad right now. And but at the same time, I understand too that um, you know, pretty much I have to pay my living expenses. And in the budget, like a lot of these companies, they try to pay, oh, but you have a responsibility to pay for this. No, this payment should come first. No, a student loan payments don't come first. Living expenses come first. If you don't have money to pay your loans, they can work further loans. I'm sure they will work out something with you. But private student loan companies, they don't give you that options, and they should have. And this is my point, and this is the point that I want politicians to know. I want politicians to know that private student loan companies, they don't have many options for repayment when a student fall into a financial crisis or um, into a bad financial crisis. They don't offer many options for students to be able to make payments or to make payments more affordable to the economic situation of the student. And thus, I felt that politicians need to fix that. Either they should have private student loan companies should had options to make payments more affordable, such as the federal loans, for example, income-based repayment or something like that, instead of they being able the ones to decide how much the student will pay. Because it's very difficult and it can hold you back. I can't afford even with this deal that I got, I still can't afford getting a car. So I'm still going to have to take the bus and still be limited in my options of getting of in my job options pretty much. I may not be able to afford an apartment on my own, so I will probably have to get stuck living with somebody else forever and ever because there's private student loan debt. Unless something changes in the regulations of these companies, it's going to be very difficult for me and for others to be able to get out of debt pretty much. They should also have the option of allowing the private loans to be discharged on bankruptcy. Because if you find yourself in a serious financial situation and you really can afford paying the loans, getting a start becomes very difficult when you have a $400 or $500 payment every month. It's difficult. It's impossible. And I hope that this changes because I don't want to deal with it. At the same time, I know that taking a private loan is a personal choice, and that's why I say, do not take a private student loan. Do not take a private student loan from Navient. Do not deal with that company. I don't want you to fall into the same mistake that I did. I made a mistake, and I admit it. It was my mistake. I made a mistake taking that private loan, and I regret it to this point. Could I have done something different? Maybe. I don't know. But this private loan has fucked my life completely. I didn't have money to be able to go visit my family in case of an emergency. I'm recovering, trying to recover from a financial crisis, and the recovery is going to be slow. It's been slow, and it's going to be slow thanks to Navient and this private loan, student loan that I got. And true, yeah, it's my responsibility, right? Yeah, but I wish that they had better repayment options, that they would be more nicer to the students, and that they will actually help the students because they're not being nicer. You, I tried to work out a deal when I didn't have the money to pay for the private loan, and they were not willing to do anything. They were like, "Well, this is like this a loan, like a car loan. A car loan never goes away." Um, it does. It's not the way that you want to deal with a car loan, but it does goes away. Um, but yeah, no, that's been ridiculous, and it's been stressful. It's been frustrating, and it's been annoying because honestly, like I'm trying to recover from this whole financial mess, and having this student loan, the amount that I have to pay per month to be able to pay repay that loan back, it's difficult. It's insane. It doesn't help me to catch up on my finances and to recover financially and to be able to save money for an emergency, save money in case something happened to my parents because my parents are getting old. I'm Don't say anything. I'm going to be turning big 40 in a few weeks, so my parents are getting old, and if something happened to my parents, I don't want to get stuck here, um, and I'll be able to go and help down there if needed, And also, I'm still at risk of defaulting and not be able to pay this company because if I lose my job or if something happened and I have to go back to Puerto Rico because of whatever reason, this loan that I can end up defaulting again, and then what? We'll end up in court. You know, it's a bad situation. It's a bad financial situation. What I'm dealing with is a big monster, and I want Congress, I want President Obama or whoever wins the election to do something about it because this is something that it's not only affecting me, it's affecting a lot of students today. And it's sad that these companies, they are only looking for themselves. They are not willing to help people. They say that they want to help people, but they really don't. They really don't give a shit about people. They don't care about people. They are disrespectful to people, and they are insensitive to the financial situation that one is dealing with. It's enough trouble to have to worry whether you are going to have enough money to put food on your plate or to be able to make the rent. But when the company calls you and they demand you to pay them money, that is a big mess. Seriously, it's unfair. It's totally completely unfair, and something has to be done. And if I wish that they're listening to this video because I want them to know that they have yes, I'm paying you back. I'm paying you my money back because I'm trying to play things fair. But I have to force you, company, to negotiate with me because you are not willing to do so. And I got a deal out of it. So I got my winning card here. But at the same time, how you people are treating your customers and what you people are doing, and it's it doesn't make any sense. Why a private loan company has to be treated different than a federal loan? Why they don't why the government doesn't force them to offer options that make that make it more easier for students to pay the debt back, and also help the students that are right out of college or um, to be able to afford making those payments. To give them something affordable so they can pay their living expenses and they have money to spend also on things that they might need to be able to get a job, like a car or something like that. This whole deal with private student loans is the worst deal ever, and I hope that it changes. I really hope that it changes because it's limiting, and it's it really stuck you completely. I know I would never have. You know what is ridiculous? The ridiculous part is when the company tells me, "Oh, do you ever want to purchase a house? You will not be able to buy a house or a car." Well, let me put it this way: if I'm paying you my money, I can also cannot afford buying a car or making a car payment because I'm paying you money. And then also being single, I'm single, so also I'm only responsible for myself. So all that money that is going there is money that I don't have to take care of myself either. There's nobody else that will take care of me. I'm single, I'm on my own. So when my income, even that I'm getting some income, but most of my money is going to a loan debt that to repaying a loan. It's money that I don't have to take care of myself. So if I get sick, and I got sick one time and I didn't have insurance and I got slammed with a $6,000 bill, you know being sick with a health insurance, it sucks not having the money to take care of yourself. Yeah, I have health insurance now, but health insurance doesn't cover everything. There are things that my health insurance may not cover, and that I may have to have some money to be able to cover those expenses. And the fact that I have to pay that amount, a lot of money, into that private solo means that I will have less money to take care of my own expenses. So I know I've gotten made an hour video, but I have to do this because I feel like if I don't do it, nobody else will learn from this. And I have learned about this, and I want you, if you're watching this, to learn about this. If you are a student, take my advice. Look at your options. Do not take a private student loan. Try to avoid taking a private student loan as much as you can, because it can become a pain in the neck to deal with later on in the future. I and I'm saying this because of my experience. I'm not saying that your experience is going to be like mine, but you never know. You better think your options, and you hope that you don't get into something like what happened to me. For politicians and for Congress, please do something about this. This is a situation that I have learned that is very bad. It's really very bad, and it's really very annoying, and it's very stressful, especially when you are recovering from a bad financial crisis where you have people like me that have master's degree that have been taking jobs below our mean because we cannot afford there are no job opportunities out there. So when your income goes down, you cannot afford making payments that are very high. So there has to be a way to make these loan companies offer more repayment options. It's unfair when you call them and you tell them, "Hey, I'm having financial difficulties," and the only option that they offer is a forbearance, and forbearance pretty much increase the principal, and by increasing the principal, the interest, the money that you end up paying over time is going to be more, and that's a bad option in my opinion. They should offer other options like income-based repayment or something like that, similar to federal loans, or even have an option for a financial hardship, because when you can't make the payments and when you have, it's unfair to have to decide whether keeping a roof over your head and keeping food on your plate versus making a private student loan payment. That's, to me, it's very unfair. And in my opinion, when you have the two options, whether paying rent and your living expenses and a private student loan, my decision, and this is my decision, is going to be to pay rent and food and keep my living expenses and fuck the student loan, because that's not the important one. The important thing is to keep yourself alive, pretty much. Anyway, if you like this video, please share it with your friend. I know it's freaking 1 hour long, but share it with your friend. Tell your friends about it. Talk about it. Share it on Facebook. I don't care. I want my message to go all over the internet. I want this message to go viral. I want to pretty much stick it in the face to Navient. They are making me pay for my student loan. Sure, I pay them, but also I'm going to try to help students and do what I feel is right, and is preventing people from getting catch up with this bad deal, which is called a private student loan. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you have comments, questions, please write them in here down in the bottom, and hopefully there will be another video soon. Bye.